If you'd like to join us on this song, everybody probably knows this one. If you'd like to stand, that's great too. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. If you want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart, put a little love in your heart.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bailey, a member of Unity. Welcome to Unity of the Hill Country, where we offer a positive path for spiritual living. And I apologize for a croaky throat. We'll just have to do it. Let us pray. We give thanks for this beautiful, wonderful day full of possibilities. We feel God's presence and power in us and all around us. We are truly blessed. Feeling wholeness, we extend this blessing to everybody. We bless all people, regardless of what they believe or who they love. We know that there are many paths to God, many names for God, but only one God. And God is expressing through all creation. We come together this morning to experience and express the Christ Spirit which dwells within each one of us. And so it is. Amen. If you're joining us on Facebook from home, we would like to take a moment to say welcome and connect in consciousness. Please feel free to comment, introduce yourselves. This is our time to be together and share in love. Feel free to post and tweet about Unity of the Hill Country, but please silence your phone so it doesn't disturb our gathering. Unity is a global and spiritual community. We offer practical, uplifting resources to help people of all faiths apply positive spiritual principles. At Unity, we honor all paths to God. Please join me in affirming our mission and vision statement to live consciously, celebrating the divine potential in all, as well as our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God, the good, the omnipotent. Reverend Bob has some announcements.
Well, good morning. Wanted to just remind you that Doug Sherman's memorial service is at the Kerrville Funeral Home this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and there'll be a reception at the Masonic Lodge afterwards. So for those of you who aren't familiar with where the Kerrville Funeral Home is, it's next to Aspen Dental across the street from Walmart. I'm learning that everything needs to be described in relation to Walmart. The Masonic Lodge is actually just a few blocks away on Methodist and Campment Road. So if you turn left out of the funeral home, it'll be the first stoplight on the right. Turn right on that. If you turn right out of the funeral home, you'll make 3 left turns back to the Masonic Lodge. I've already kind of started unity orientation. It's usually just we get together for 3 hours. I give you a sense about what unity is. If you'd like to do that, just please sign up or at least send me an email at minister@unityhillcountry.com. And we're going to be starting a prosperity discussion group in February. So I need to know also if you'd be interested in that. I'm going to be offering probably some Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and then Saturday about 1 o'clock from the people I've talked to as far as when they can come. You'll also notice, I know I've got the business cards that we've got all over the place. If you haven't been here the last few weeks, these are something, just carry a couple in your wallet. When conversation about spirituality or life's challenges come up, you can just hand somebody this business card, which has some information about us, including our website, and also has the prayer for protection on the back. So that will be very helpful. So I'm going to hand it back here to Carolyn after this.
Today, the Daily Word helps keep the unity movement connected worldwide. And this week's reader is Donna Gillespie.
Morning. Okay. I don't think I have to do anything else. So the daily word today is power. Let's say the affirmation together. My thoughts and words reflect my divine inheritance. When I listen to my inner conversation and recurring thoughts, I may hear fear-based, limiting talk, or I may hear positive words encouraging me to live fully and confidently. The choice is mine. Through my divine gift of power, I take command of my thoughts and my life. I release thoughts of powerlessness, and as I do, my negative self-talk diminishes. I affirm my divine inheritance of faith and wisdom and understanding and strength with my thoughts, words, and actions. The power to live a full life is mine. I embrace insights I've gained through experience. I own my mistakes without shame or embarrassment. I am eager to learn. I am willing to try new things and stretch myself. In power, I thrive. And the verse from Proverbs 18:21, death and life are the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So let's join together in the daily affirmation one more time. My thoughts and words reflect my divine inheritance. Thank you. Yeah, and I think they're out there.
Thank you, Donna. The Unity Movement started in 1889 with answered prayer for healing of a fatal illness. We are honored to pray with you. Place a request in our lobby prayer chest or email us. And Usher will now bring forth the prayer chest. Thank you. I would like to remind you that there is a prayer card in the seat in front of you. If you would like to fill one out, please do so and just put it in the excuse me, in the offering basket as it comes around, and we will be praying with you. Thank you. And now join our congregational song, which is Work Wonders from Within. The lyrics are on the screen, and the music team will help us with the melody. Following that, we will prepare for a period of meditation with the song, Peace is All I Know.
Work wonders from within. That's where to look within. There's no use looking somewhere else for power that you need to win. Work wonders from within. Be sure you look within. Just take your mind from outer fears. Don't think it's too late to begin. In you, in me, there's power to be. In you, in me, there's power that will set us free. My course is up to me. Of course it's up to me. So I'll set my mind to use my power if wonders I want to see. Bring me back to center. Bring me back to flow. Now my soul surrenders. Peace is all I know. Bring me back to center. Bring me back to flow. Now my soul surrenders. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. In this moment I am whole. Peace is all I know. Bring me back to knowing. Peace is letting go. Love is overflowing. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. In this moment I am whole. Peace is all I know. Peace is all is all I know.
Know that peace by being still and going within. Allow any illusion of separation between ourselves and God to just melt away. Feel the back of the chair against your back. Feel your feet grounded on the floor as if you're growing roots. And check your ring finger on your left hand. Is it cool or is it warm? Now with our bodies grounded, our minds relaxed, we draw our focus from our head down to our heart, and from our heart down to the very center of our torso, the gateway of Chi, the center of the spiritual being having the human experience. And we feel the healing energy just radiating outward. In unity, when we meditate and pray, we take a moment to pray for others. Bring to mind any individuals, any groups, any situations you'd like to pray for now. We include all of the physical prayers placed in the mailbox, or not the mailbox, the prayer box. And then any emails or the prayer request form on our website, unityhillcountry.org. Let's see and know that regardless of the specificity of the request, we know and trust that the divine substance, the divine potential, and the divine perfection are in and expressing through each of these requests as wholeness, as oneness, as their highest good, today and every day hereafter. Now let's pray for unity of the Hill Country. We see our congregation thriving in consciousness, people, and avenues, today and every day hereafter. The God presence expressing as unity of the Hill Country is a divine magnet, attracting anyone who can benefit from who we are and what we are about, attracting health, prosperity, love, and joy to unity of the Hill Country and all who are guided here, today and every day hereafter. I now invite you to take the words I'm speaking as your own words as we pray this meditation this morning. I am ready to begin. We embark on a 7-week journey of creation. I prepare to plant the seeds of my imagination in the fertile ground of being. But the ground requires preparation. I open my mind to God's living spirit of truth. I embrace the divine guidance as it reveals two things. What shall I let go of? What shall I create? I seek to not only have blessings for myself, but to bless everybody through my 7-week project. And as I prepare for 3 minutes of silence, I embrace and express the divine idea of imagination in the silence. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am grateful. There are no limitations to what I can achieve. I am co-creating with the God presence. That is my basic divine purpose here, to express my spiritual gifts, passions, and talents, and make this world a better place. Divine love lights my path, brings me home to the realization that I am indeed a part of God. My way is clear, and I move forward with confidence and courage. For my ever-growing awareness of the omnipotence, the omniscience, and the omnipresence of God, I open my heart chakra and pour forth gratitude. I pray these things in the name and the nature and the power that we know as Jesus Christ. And we now release this prayer knowing perfect results are unfolding. And as we draw our focus back to the sanctuary, let's say the invocation, or listen to the invocation by our co-founder, Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. May acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. and by divine wisdom now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. Amen. And as we draw our focus back to the sanctuary, let's sing the Alleluia chant. So, especially for those you watching on Facebook or YouTube, virtual hug. Good. I enjoy funny buttons and bumper stickers and that kind of thing. I got a kick out of one that I came across, probably back about 30 years ago. It says, how far can I open my mind before brains fall out? You know, one of the challenges we have is that in unity, we are applying spiritual principles that sometimes make absolutely no sense to our logical minds. But at the same time, we need to remain grounded. It's one thing to talk theories up here, but how do we practically apply them in the physical world? Now, some of you know the story of our co-founders, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle was told her whole life that tuberculosis ran in her family and that she was probably going to get it herself. And sure enough, as an adult, she indeed did get tuberculosis. I'm told she didn't have much time left. That's always one of those fun things that people say, doctors say. But at any rate, like a lot of people in that situation, they're looking for any answer they could get, you know, just straws. And then they heard about this speaker coming through Kansas City. His name is Eugene Weeks, and he's a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins up in Chicago, who was this metaphysical Christianity teacher. And so they went to the lecture and listened to it. And Myrtle said afterwards, she says, it's odd. If you ask me for an outline of what he said, I don't have a clue. He says, but there was this one sentence that just jumped out at me. He said, if we are indeed children of God, then we do not inherit sickness. And it was like a light bulb going off over her head. It's like, here I've been told my whole life that I inherited tuberculosis, you know, and so here I am. And so he gave some very pragmatic techniques, you know, meditation, the 7 chakras, focusing on the organs. And she realized as part of her upbringing, you know, there was this sense of cursing her body, you know. You know, this doesn't work very well. That doesn't work. You know, damn, blah, blah, blah. So she started realizing I need to forgive my organs and apologize to them. And over a 2-year process, she totally shed tuberculosis when there was no medical cure. Now, as you can imagine, the people around her are kind of like, we got to get us some of that. You know, and especially her husband, Charles, you know, he was very much, you know, into a scientific approach to life. Suddenly he watches this happen. And he says, well, you know, if indeed these are pragmatic principles, we should be able to repeat using these principles and get results. Now, Charles is an interesting fellow because when he was a kid, he had injured his hip, and it turns out that bacteria can sometimes get in our bones. And for him as a kid, he actually got tuberculosis in his hip joint. So as he was growing to an adult, I think it was his right leg was like 4 inches shorter than his other. And so he started working with these techniques, and over about a 20-year period, his leg grew back to a normal length. He never had full strength. He said, always had a limp, but just the fact that he could put away that lift that he had used, And here was Myrtle, told that she only had a couple months to live, and she lasted another 42 years. I know I'm doing unity orientation for various people, and I point out, here this was the 1800s, and Myrtle was 9 years older than Charles, So Myrtle was a cougar before cougars knew they were cougars. And part of the unity movement here was that, they started these prayer circles in their living room. People would come, they'd pray with them, for them. Myrtle would answer letters. Then in 1907, she got the telephone, one of those ones that got the handle that hooks on the side, and talk. And she would take calls from people. And that was basically, back in 1890, she started the silent unity prayer room, so to speak. And that grew into a 24/7 prayer room at Unity Village, just southeast of Kansas City. So, and so they keep track. When people call, what are their prayer requests? What do we want to pray about? And I bet you can probably guess the top 3. Number 1, healing. Number 2, prosperity. I need to pay the bills after all. And number 3, relationships problems. Sometimes prosperity is first, depending upon what's going on with the economy and all of that. But these are the kinds of things that have practically been a challenge to human existence. Even if you look at the 4 Gospels where we're told what Jesus said, and he loved to tell these parables. He tells stories to try to illustrate the points. Half of them were about prosperity. We ain't got enough. What do we need to do? And what would Jesus say over and over? Don't worry about that. Take your focus off of that. So we have this spectrum of consciousness that's laid out in the Bible that we have. We have these 66 books. We've got Genesis, and it goes through what used to be called the Old Testament. Now we call them more properly the Hebrew Scriptures. And then we've got these 4 Gospels, which give different interpretations of what Jesus said and did. And then we've got all of these letters to the churches as they got organized with this new Christian religion. And then the last one is Revelations. So we move from this Adam and Eve consciousness, what I see is what I get, to this Jesus Christ consciousness. It's like, oh, wow, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I can actually participate in creating what I experience. So this is actually the first of 8 weeks, but we're going to just walk through the creative process and its symbolism. Our minds are always connected to the divine mind. I like to call it, that if we open our conscious mind to the divine mind, we can get the divine download. And this idea comes to us and it just speaks to our hearts. We have a passion for it. Now granted we get whims, and something that passes, but if it really sticks with us, it's something we want to explore. It's something we want to express as co-creators with God. So if you've come to a Unity Center, odds are you've moved out of that asleep consciousness, and now you have awakened. You move from, I'm a victim of circumstance, to, okay, I'm willing to take responsibility for everything I experienced. I played a role in it. And Jesus had these affirmations that many of our more traditional Christian denominations think he's talking about himself, but he'd say things like, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. All authority in heaven and on earth have been given unto me. these are things that we need to realize about ourselves as well. And as Joseph Campbell, the late expert in the world religions, would talk about, yeah, when you look at all of these various scriptures and your God does this, what they're saying to you is, hey, you can do this too. But in this Jewish Christian tradition, there were certain elements of society who would prefer we don't feel empowered. And so we need to be willing to move past that, not in a resentful or angry way, but in a loving way, and say, okay, I'm willing to take on this little niche physical world that I was sent here to do. Now, there's this archetype of the big secret. And it's fun going to movies where they're looking for the big secret, right? You think of the Indiana Jones movies, even the Star Wars movies. There was this mythology of that. I could just find this treatise that was written with a quill pen on papyrus, and it's sealed in a leather-bound cover and sealed with wax. If I could read that, then I'd finally know the secrets of the universe. Well, it's really not something we don't know. It's what we're not doing. If we're connected to the divine mind, we can get whatever guidance we need to do what we need to do here. I do know, though, here I've been in Unity since 1987, and what I notice is there are a lot of people like talking about Unity, talking about these spiritual principles, but how many people are actually doing it? Unity overcomes the perversion of what's called the prosperity gospel. You'll go to certain congregations down at the fundamentalist end of the Christian spectrum, and they're like, all you need to do is to tithe, to give us 10% of your gross income, and everything will be great. Not exactly. It is indeed a component of the prosperity principles, but it's a gross oversimplification. I know, as taught by Edwin Gaines, there are these 4 easy-to-remember principles. One is, okay, tithing, but there's also setting goals. There's also forgiveness. You can't walk through the world with resentment and anger and all of that and expect there to be a flow of God's presence through you. And then there's divine purpose. What are you put here to do? And that's one of the things we're going to be exploring here in these next 7 weeks. What have you been put here to do? In Unity, we have a full spectrum of prosperity. And a lot of you have heard me mention these 5 general categories of our life. We've got health. Am I truly expressing good health? There's relationships. Do I have healthy relationships with that person that I'm intimate with, but what about my friends? And what about just the cashier at Walmart? Am I kind with these people? What about your occupation? Are you doing something you love to do every day? Granted, you may be retired, but do you volunteer? Do you have some sort of purpose on a daily basis? And then there's spiritual awareness. Okay. I've noticed since I discovered Unity in 1987, it's been a process of, wow, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. And then I actually, as the years went by, believed it and started acting like it. And then there is financial supply. Yeah, we got to pay the bills. And it is, so we're going to talk about, like I say, over these next 7 weeks, the creative process. So it'll be an 8-week journey in total, and it's designed for everyone. I know I met a few people who are here for the first time. Great. If you're starting your 4th decade, great too. It's nice to be able to go back and just cover some of the basic stuff again. And of course, I believe that the congregation thrives because the individuals within the congregation are thriving. And then we can collaborate and bring our prosperous energy together and express it as a group. So we're going to explore how we create what we desire. And Unity believes that in this Bible, 66 books, there are these narrative stories that are full of symbolism. And so I want to start at the very beginning with the first chapter of Genesis. This is what we're going to be exploring over these next few weeks. So, Genesis, first chapter, first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the firmament and separated the water under the firmament from the water above the firmament, and it was so. God called the firmament a sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. And God called the dry ground land. And the gathered waters he called the seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants." I could use a beer right about now. Seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And then, of course, all of the barley and hops are indeed brewed into beer. So he said, I knew where I was going with that. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the sky to separate the day from the night, and then let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years. And let there be lights in the firmament of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was an evening, and there was a morning, and it was the fourth day. And God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the firmament of the sky. So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves. God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to his kind," or its kind. And it was so. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let us make man in our own image," in our likeness. "And let them rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the air, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it," and it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So, I wanted you to just refamiliarize yourself with that, because it turns out each of these 7 days and the things that were described in them are symbolic. And the biggest clue to it is where there's an illogical part of them. Well, for example, okay, let me check my notes here. For example, First verse says, God created the heavens and the earth. Sounds like he was done. So why did we continue with these 7 days? And there's something about 7 days. The symbolism of the number 7 is in the Bible is that sense of like, okay, I've come to a completion spot in this physical world. 12 is that sense of like, okay, now I've got it full spiritually as well. In the third verse, God says, let there be light, and God separated the day and the night. When I was a young boy, the nuns told me that God created the sun there. But in verse 16, it says God created 2 great lights, one to rule the day and the other the night. Why are we hearing about this twice? And then later it says on the 7th day, God rested from all the work he was doing. Well, if we believe that God is all-powerful, in other words, omnipotent, why does he need to rest? I don't know about you, but it doesn't look like he broke a sweat there. So these are the kinds of places where you read this, and okay, it makes sense, but there are these discrepancies. That's a good sign that, okay, let's dig a little deeper into the symbolism. And, some of the esoteric traditions, the Kabbalah and all that, carried a lot of this symbolism forward. They were all compiled into the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary that was finally published in 1931. So we have now resources where we can look at this stuff. And there does seem to be a bit of sense to it. There's that sense of like, okay, we have been growing in awareness. We have this human race consciousness, this collective consciousness that's been growing. And we're at a higher level now. So it's like, okay, it's now time to explore this kind of stuff and move beyond just surviving to actually thriving in this physical world. So we take these 7 steps and recognize it's a creative process. We can create or co-create our experience on Earth. Each of the qualities in this 7-step process are already in us and a part of us. We only need to be aware of them and start putting them into motion. So, what we're going to explore over these next 8 weeks. In this first week, what I want to encourage you to do is to be patient. We live in an organic physical world, and it can be easy to forget. You look at what has happened over these last 150 years. We've gone from agricultural to industrial. Where suddenly if a gear breaks, just fix the gear. And then the internet came along. I started out as a journalist in the 1970s. I had manual typewriters, and then there was this miracle, the electric typewriter. And then they put a computer chip in the electric typewriter so you could push a button and it would erase everything that came before it if you made a mistake. And then they came up with the computer where I didn't have to worry about all of that stuff, because I wasn't a very good typist, so I always have to seem to go back and change stuff. And then I can print it out. And I, of course, appreciate where I came from, because now I can just get so frustrated when it takes 15 seconds to download a website. It's like, hey, remember what it was like. Remember what it was like to order a catalog. You look at the catalog, you know what you want, you send in an order, and then they let you know a few weeks later, we're out of stock. Now, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's out of stock. Well, do I want something else? No. So earlier I mentioned the affirmations. Father and I are one. Your mind is always connected to the divine mind, and remember what you need to do with these ideas that come through. These divine ideas, we need to do 2 things. One is to believe they exist, and that's when our mind will start to notice them, and then be willing to express them. And they come into our intuition, and then our mind can go to work on them. The transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "Do not make any small plans in life, because they simply do not have the power to move the soul." So what I'd like to do is move beyond your New Year's resolutions. I saw a clever one-panel cartoon where it shows New Year's resolution return window, all this line of and I hear this was just about a week ago and say, oh, yeah, you've lost enough weight. You're fine. That kind of stuff. It's like, think big. Think big. sometimes we kind of dismiss thinking big because, after all, we got some sort of a crisis in our life that we need to handle. Health, relationships, occupation, spiritual awareness, financial supply. And then we start applying these spiritual. It's like, wow, what a difference in my life. But then suddenly it seems to stop working. It's like, I guess I need to put a new battery in my magic wand. What's going on here? And then people ask questions like, does this unity stuff really work? It's like, it works. It may, but some things take a little bit longer than others. You've probably had the experience, of planting a seed, probably at some point in grammar school, planting a seed and watering it and being patient until you got the sprout, and you got to watch this amazing thing that happens with soil in the earth and seeds. But, if you're impatient, every day you're digging up the seed and looking, well, what's going on? Nothing seems to be going on here. I'll put it in again. Okay, next day, what's going on? It's like you're thwarting the process by not being willing to be patient. So that's why we're doing it over 7 weeks. I want this to organically grow so you can just be amazed at the power in your own mind. Now, one piece of the puzzle is divine purpose, and that is just figuring out, does your project over these next 7 weeks help other people? As I mentioned in the meditation, we have our gifts, our passions and talents, something we do really well that we can contribute to the betterment of the world. I had mentioned just a moment ago about the crisis that we have in our life. There's nothing like desperation to get the mind focused. I'll say to someone will say, "Oh, I can't focus. I can't concentrate." Think about the last time you were worried and you spent all night worrying about something. You were really focused and concentrating at that moment. So be gentle with yourself. Focus the mind and make a commitment that you're going to go ahead and do this. Now, you might be thinking, "Oh, I know I'm going to win the lottery." I had this vision in the 1990s of me thinking, that's it. That's how I'll prosper. I'll win the lottery. And I had God standing next to me, an anthropomorphic God. And I said, "God, I want to win the lottery." And God said, "Bob, that's wonderful. I now have 2,757,268 people that have prayed to me to win the lottery before you. So do you want to get in line, or will you trust that perhaps I'll bring it through a channel into your life?" Now, as you do set these goals, be specific. And there are 2 things that I want you to do. Okay, set a goal, but also, what do you want to let go of? What do you want to release? As a young Catholic boy in Lent, it's like you're supposed to give up something you really like for those 7 weeks. It's like, no. What if you've got any illness you want to let go of? Or would you go of poverty? Would you be willing to let go of an estrangement in your relationships? What would you do? What project would you take on if I could guarantee you this morning that you would fail? That's the kind of think big I want. I know some of the board members, we got together last Wednesday night and we're going over the budget for this year. And I was twisting some arms and shoving. It's like, okay, we're emerging from the pandemic. Everything used last year were like 78,000. And so I think I convinced, at least to a certain point, we set a goal that we'd have $150,000 of revenues this coming year. It's like, okay, we may not be, this is the new normal, but let's know and trust. Let's make room. And that's part of it, is if you let go of a belief system or an old assumption, you're making a room in your life. And you're not pouring energy into that basic assumption or that idea that you had about how the world works. A good example I like to use is when I was a kid, I was told, don't talk to strangers. Well, if I continued not talking to strangers for the last 60 years, where would I be? So yeah, there are certain things that work for us at one point in our life, but then we need to let go of them later. And there is this amazing, cycle of living a life in the physical world. We've got the winter solstice, and then the equinox, and then the solstice, and then an equinox. And there's these spiritual traditions that have been inlaid. We've got that winter solstice where suddenly there's the birth of light, which Christians celebrate 3 days later on the 25th. And then there's this fertility, that happens near the end of March. And you'll notice that there's this overlay of Lent, where you need to give up something. Well, what if you were to give it up for more than just 7 weeks until Easter? So think about what you want to let go of. Be aware of the old. Now, it just find something you'd be really passionate about letting go of. And then find something you'd be really passionate about creating. And like I said, be patient. I want you to notice how your mind, now that it's open and receptive to what's next, will start getting these ideas in these coming weeks. So don't jump the gun. By about week number 5, then it'll be our time to say, okay, ready, set, go. So we're in that ready phase. But we need to create that vacuum so that we can fill the vacuum. But I do give you a warning. Because, oh boy, here it comes. If you choose, as I did, to indeed something you really want to let go of, and if you want to create something you want to create, your conscious mind will start receiving visions and ideas that show you those basic assumptions and beliefs that you came up with in life. And some people feel discouraged. It's like, well, here I was praying about this, and then suddenly this pops up. What your consciousness is showing is like, you want to let go of this? You want to let go of talking to strangers? That kind of a thing. And so you have the opportunity to say, yeah, God, I hadn't thought of that in years. I'd like to let go of that. So face the implications of all you're giving up. I know I used to say when Carla and I were traveling teaching the prosperity seminars, like, some people get a lot of mileage out of their affliction. I'm the adult child of a chocoholic. What's your label? And how are you limiting yourself by that label? Do you get a benefit from your illness? I know my dad had a cousin who lived near us in Chicago, and she was always ill. And as I watched over the years and saw, it's like she just wanted to relinquish any responsibility to do anything in the household. So her husband, her teenage sons were doing stuff, and so it's kind of like, that makes sense. Are you unhappy at work? Are you lonely? Are you poor? Would you like to have better spiritual awareness than you've had so far? It's not too complicated, just be careful not to talk yourself out of it. Like I said, when this stuff surfaces, it's kind of like, do I really want to go on with this? It's like, well, I hope you do. So I did give you some takeaways that are in your bulletin. For those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, just shoot an email to minister at unityhillcountry.org. I can send you these. But the first one is, during this week, open your mind to the divine guidance that's always there. Be willing to be conscious of it. Allow your intuition to perceive it. Be willing to co-create with divine mind. Be willing to commit for the next 8 days. So what will you release and what will you attract? And be willing to be patient as you plant the seed and let it grow. And like our founder, Myrtle Fillmore, figured out, think big. I've got a video I want to share with you from Steve Hartman of the CBS Evening News.
Long ago, but not nearly as long ago as you might expect, sharecroppers worked this field in South Carolina. As late as 1964, Bo and Lake Giles were still toiling like indentured servants. In fact, their children say they were, by far, the poorest family around.
We had to pick cotton all day long.
Oh yeah, you had to pick cotton during the school year.
We could only go to school when it was raining. There was very little food. I was praying every day, God, get us out of this situation.
But even as those prayers went unanswered, the Giles children knew there was a better life out there because it was so tantalizingly close.
The shack they lived in used to be right there. But in their view, just past this pond here, there was another house. You can see it right back there. It's really just a modest home. But to those sharecroppers' kids picking cotton in these fields, that place seemed like the Taj Mahal.
Me looking across the street at it, it looked like a mansion.
You know, they got a bathroom and stuff.
Felt like they were rich compared to our broken down home.
You had flowers. All of that was a sense of freedom.
And all of that is why it felt like liberation when half a century later, the Giles family moved across the street into the Taj Mahal. Some of the siblings pooled their money to buy the property, which they're now renovating to use for family reunions and holiday gatherings. Eventually, the plan is to put the house in a trust so future generations of Giles will know the story and learn the lesson. That poverty doesn't have to beget poverty. That through education and determination, poverty can breed success. Dorothy became a teacher, Ruthie a nurse, Roosevelt chairman of the board, but he says still a sharecropper in his soul.
It ensures your appreciation of where you come from.
Across the way, and now we're sitting here instead of sitting over there.
We have a better life.
This holiday season, many Americans will be unwrapping presents. But for families like the Giles, the greatest gift is the only gift that truly keeps on giving. The sacrifice of those who made all this possible. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Kelton, South Carolina.
Closing Bible verse from the book of Isaiah, 41st chapter, 10th verse. Fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. And may you always be open to God's guidance and grace. Our special music this week is a classic Unity favorite, When You Rule Your Mind.
Think light in the face of darkness. Think faith when you're lost at sea. Think good, for there is no evil in the world unless you think there ought to be. When you rule your mind, you rule your world. Think light, think faith, think good, think high when you're feeling low down. Think free when you want to fly. Think big if you want to grow up in the world. Unless you think you'll never try. When you rule your mind, you rule your world. Think high, think free, think big, think life full of vim and vigor. Think truth, let the Spirit flow. Think love, and there will be love in all the world. unless you think you'll never know. When you rule your mind, you rule your world. Think life, think truth, think love, think.
Yes, indeed. If this is your first time at Unity, we are glad that you are here. We hope that you are finding a place of like-minded people and a place to belong. We teach spiritual tools that can help you no matter what is going on in your life. Generosity is important to us, and we will donate $5 to a local charity of your choice. Just write your email on the card in our welcome packet and leave it in our office. We don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anybody here for the first time? You can raise your hand. We got 1, 2. All right. Very good. We now have the opportunity to support our spiritual cooperative. If you would like to donate by credit card, go to our website, unityofthehillcountry.org, and click on the donate button. Please set up an automatic weekly or monthly contribution. If you would prefer to mail us a check, please mail it to the Unity of the Hill Country, 1016 Jefferson Street, Kerrville, Texas, 78028. And we thank you in advance for your generosity. Would the ushers please bring forward the offering basket? And together let us say our offering blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. So it is. We open our hearts in gratitude for these freely given donations. We send these gifts forward through our congregation and into our world, blessing all that it affects. Thank you. We have a few brief announcements. The Serenity Al-Anon meeting meets at noon on Mondays, and if you have a friend or a loved one suffering from addiction and you need support, please visit Al-Anon. The Naked Now book study meets next Monday, that's February the 5th, at 6, I guess, at 2 p.m. We still have some books available in the office. If you would like to have a copy, we are asking for an $11 love donation. please see Brad in the office for more information. The Course in Miracles workshop facilitated by Charlie Diggs has moved to Zoom sessions as Charlie will be traveling for some time. Please let us know if you are interested in participating, and we will put you in contact with Charlie. Codependence Anonymous meets weekly on Thursdays at 8 p.m. The goal of this meeting is to discuss our difficulties with interpersonal relationships and is open to anyone interested. The Center of Calm Meditation group meets weekly at 10:30 a.m. on Thursdays. Come join us for some familiar faces and take some time to experience meditating in a group. Several members of our community have begun meditating nightly at 10 p.m. and we're creating a network of independent meditators at this time each night. No need to get in contact with anyone. Just connect in consciousness. Studies have shown that meditation in groups increases its effectiveness. Also in meditation news starting the first week in February, which is February the 5th, we invite you to join us in meditation before our Sunday gathering at 10:45. So that will begin February the 5th at 10:15. A memorial service for our beloved Doug Sherman, husband of our wonderful board member and treasurer Patsy Sherman, will be held today at 2 at the Kerrville Funeral Home. Patsy and the rest of the Sherman clan invite you to honor the life of Doug this afternoon. If you would like an opportunity to serve in our community, please be a Sunday host, an usher, daily word reader, etc. Please let us know. A new schedule for volunteers will be distributed next week. And there's a sign-up sheet at the back, and you can always call Brad at the office. He loves the volunteers. And with that, we have come to the end of this gathering. Please join us in the peace song, followed by the prayer of protection